Hi, Mike McCaffery has joined me down in Arizona. He's been here this week doing body work on my horses, clients' horses, and ones that are at the show down at Westworld while he's been enjoying a little bit of sunshine. So, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm from the Northwest, same place I met Molly many years ago, and I work I'm from east of Bellingham, Sumas, Washington, and I work a lot into the Seattle area, and then all the way up into northern BC. Been doing the body work on horses since '91, so um, quite a few different techniques. I mainly the basis is myofascial release. Originally worked with a rolfer from the Seattle area who was pioneering that work into the horse world, and so that's the basis of it. But I've been to a lot of different schools since. Worked with chiropractors as well, and combine several different techniques into the work that I do.
And you're actually going to give a class today to a number of us at the barn so we can learn a little bit of these techniques and help work with our own horses in between your visits.
Right.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's really important to be able to do a little bit of work on your own horse and to be able to know your horse intimately, all the soft tissue over its whole body, so that you can recognize a minute strain even, and give it that tincture of time off or some ice cross fiber friction to speed up that healing, rather than thinking you can just work out of it and then increase that tear and thereby increasing scar tissue later, and then it just becomes a weak link in the chain of your horse's structure. You lose elasticity and strength in that area.
So, Mike, what got you started with the body work?
My wife and I both went to school for human massage therapy, and I've had horses since I was 10, so I always thought, well, that'd be a really good path to go down to work on horses, and I love working on them. Back then, there wasn't a lot of options for schools, and so Michael Reams in the Seattle area, I started working with him, and worked on horses even before I finished the massage therapy school for people, and saw good results right off the bat. So I thought, well, this would be a fun way to go with it. So I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and you've been working on horses for me for around 25 years, and I've seen a lot of other body workers. You definitely have some different techniques that I haven't seen other people use, and we all really say it's like magic, the work that you do on the horses. So you mentioned a little bit some of the techniques that you use. Are there some other ones that you use that you didn't get mentioned there?
As far as tools other than my hands,
The techniques, like you mentioned, rolfing, myofascial release, are there some other methods that you use that other people might be familiar with the terms?
well, I incorporate a lot of facilitated stretching and rotational exercises with the joints. Uh, well, in some states, I'm not allowed to call it chiropractic, but the horse has that innate ability to correct itself. And if you release the muscles that are pulling things out of alignment, and then with certain pressure points to make that horse stretch in certain ways, the horse will come back into alignment. I do cross fiber friction in areas of scar tissue buildup to try and soften that. Um, just craniosacral work. Um, Sports massage, the tapping even, a good little quick thing to do after a trailer ride. Uh, yeah, this can't really think of other names.
I know there's so many
Yeah,
different. And then you kind of develop your own style over time. So,
right.
like, how would you say that your practice has shaped over the years?
Well,
Big changes.
I think it just grows with every horse. I learn something with every single horse, because you don't have that verbal feedback. You've got to read their body language, and to be able to pick up on that and to be able to surf the release and just stay right below their pain threshold, that, but yet deep enough to get the release. That gets easier over time. And of course, energy flows better when your intention and your heart is into the game. You're not thinking of other things, sort of just focused on that horse and on with the vision of it feeling better after the work. And they're such intuitive animals. They pick up on the fact that you're there to help them. And it seems like that's gotten almost immediate. Like as soon as I put my hands on the horse, within minutes they start to soften. And
Teddy softens as soon as you walk in the barn aisle.
Yeah, he gave me a big hug too.
Yeah, he gave you a great hug.
Yeah.
So what frequency would you like to see a healthy working horse get their body work?
Well, if you ask the horse, they'd say every week, please. And I've got
like on their days off, or to start the week, or midweek to keep them going.
On their days off, so that they can integrate the work without a rider on their back. They can be turned out afterwards, and especially the first time working them, I like them to have a day off after the work when it's new to them, because all of a sudden they've got new freedom of movement. The fascia in the body tightens up in such ways that it just really can lock the horse up into a certain pattern, especially if a horse has been doing the one thing all the time. Racehorse is always going to the left. They're going to take that left lead a heck of a lot easier than the right lead, if they can even take it at first when you try and bring them into the sport world after the racetrack. But even on the babies, I've got one trainer up north that her little guy couldn't even take a right lead. He could take the left lead just fine, but the right lead he wasn't able to take. And one session of working on him and doing facilitated stretching and releasing that fascia, when they're that young, that fascia is so malleable that you can change it in one session. And after that, the little guy was able to take that right lead without a problem.
Yeah, their crookedness starts all the way back in the womb.
Yeah, it does, depending on which way they are in the womb. And then when they first start going to the ground, right leg forward, left leg back, long toe, low heel, stubby on this side, clubby maybe. And that's the pattern they get into. And then so then they on that. Yeah. So so that if that's the case, then it's the left lead is going to be easy for them. The right lead won't be. But with stretching and that work on that tightened fascia, you can release that. So some people say, "Well, God, my horse is just a baby. It hasn't had a rider, it hasn't had any damage on his back. It doesn't need this work." But that's not right. The sooner you can do it to balance that horse, the better off you'll be with one-sidedness down the road.
Yeah, I learned really early. You're almost better off to start doing body work on the horses before you start breaking them. And it really helps get rid of a lot of that crookedness. And then you have a way to help them reset themselves once they start working and have us messing everything up.
Definitely, yeah. And just with some of the pressure point work that I teach, and I show each client how to do that, to get them to tilt their pelvis and activate the muscles of collection, to flex their core muscles, their psoas and iliacus and the abdominals, and just round out those muscles that round out collection. Get them used to that without a rider on their back, and then they can pick that up so much easier once they do get weight on their back. And with the older ones that are starting to sag, that's really good exercise to do for their top line and their dorsal ligament to keep things from sagging down and
creating kissing spine.
Exactly.
So you did mention that you went through human massage school. Do you still continue to work on people?
Yeah, I do. Not as much as I used to work on my wife, and some clients, so I'll bring the table to the barn and still work. But I'm pretty busy with the horses now, and I like the challenge of the horses, just being able to figure them out without them telling you what's going on. And I do still work with people, and I work with dogs as well.
That's right. I forgot that you did dogs. Yeah. Do you use or recommend other therapies to complement your work?
Yeah, the PEMP that you use, that's a great one. the exercise pad, which I was also turned on to by you years ago. I like using that to get into. Sometimes horses are so sore in their back that you can't even touch them, and so starting out with that light, with the vibration work, and that will slowly start to get them to soften, and then it has that cellular effect of getting those muscle cells vibrating, and same as the red light therapy, that helps as well to get into areas that are too painful to touch. Of course, cold cryotherapy, the ice work on heat and swelling or anything that's acute. Well, the vet work, of course, with their tools.
Yeah.
And then what's that other one that you use? That other electric arc,
the arc Equine,
the arc
with
Equine,
the microcurrent.
Right.
Yeah, I really like that little thing.
Yeah, that's a good tool as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I call it the mighty arc. It's I've seen some good results with that. So what are some of the results that you've seen with the horses with the regular bodywork sessions?
Fluidity of movement, and ability to take a lead that they couldn't before. They get so one-sided, and so when you can work both sides and release and then do stretches, and I show that to clients to do that follow-up to get them to even up both sides. Just your one video of carrot stretching was a good one to show people the proper techniques of doing that, and to keep that neck supple, to keep that whole rib cage moving. That combined with the work that I do is really important.
Yeah, because as they age, don't their ribs just naturally lose flexibility?
Yeah, just like we do.
Yeah. I can barely touch my toes now.
Yeah. So that work, that just easy work up through the intercostals is huge. You know how it feels when we get a stitch in our ribs.
Yeah.
And well, they're having to be having those ribs compressed with a saddle and then asked to turn, and with tight, sore muscles and maybe ill-fitting saddles, you can imagine the pain that they must have to go through.
And they really don't show it.
No,
It's got to be in a lot of pain for us to realize that they
exactly.
have a problem.
Yeah, they've got that ancient need to not show offness at the water hole and be chosen by the saber-toothed tiger, so they'll grin and bear it and just try and walk without that offness, and then the ones that just are so stoic that just work through pain until one day that pain is just too much, and then they just explode, and that can be downright dangerous. Yeah.
So if there's one thing that you could tell every owner, what would that be?
To be able to learn some of it, to do it yourself, the cumulative effect that an owner can do with their horses, as simple as the stretching, but there's pretty simple body work that you can do as well, which I teach in the one-day classes. And so that, and continuing to have the professional work done as well, the stretching, important fitting tack, that's a biggie. Just get rid of the pain, taking them out of their pain and allow them to enjoy, whether it's a trail ride or heavy competition. So that, we're asking them to do all this and hoping that they're having a good time as we are, but in a lot of cases they're not. They're doing it through pain.
Yeah. They certainly wouldn't choose to do this type of thing on their own.
Right, yeah. You don't see Mustangs doing half passes across the prairie.
No. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and we really look forward to having you come back to Arizona to work on our horses in the very, very near future.
All right, only the months with ours in them, not the summertime. I don't.
We have air conditioning here.
Okay.
And fans and misters.
Right. Yeah, and warm pools.
Oh,
the
the
summertime.
Pool's great. All right, thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Good to be with you.